Right, let's continue with reactions to the basic education briefing we saw earlier this evening. Alan Thompson from the National Teachers Union and Mokoena Maluleke from the South African Democratic Teachers Union join me now. Thank you very much, both of you, for your time this evening. I'm going to start with you, Mr. Maluleke. So what we heard from Minister of Basic Education, Angie Motshekga, was that so far less than 1% of teachers nationwide have been infected by COVID-19. And just to quantify that, that's 2,740 teachers out of 44,000 teachers nationwide. But as we see numbers increasing, the strain on teachers left at schools will continue to increase. We know we are under-resourced, and due to social distancing needs, those teachers will continue to face more and more pressure. What is the solution there?
Thank you for having us. Indeed, we have noted the report by the Minister. Of course, as an organization, would have loved a situation where one of the solutions would have been not to increase the number of grades under these circumstances, especially when we are seeing the numbers of positive cases are increasing in our country. So it has been an international standard that you only increase the number of grades when the numbers are under control and the numbers are going down. So the second solution, basically, it is that given the fact that the Minister has already pronounced that the grade 11 and grade 6 are coming back, it is to ensure that any school that is not ready in terms of the essentials like your sanitizers and all the other non-negotiable, such a school does not reopen for more learners because it is not ready to be able to manage preventative measures that are necessary for us to be able to curb the spread. The third solution, clearly, it is what should have been there from the beginning, psychosocial services, as the teachers are taking the strain, as they are worried about themselves and worried about the learners that they are teaching, to be part of the situation, part of the solution when the learners are coming. So you don't get the psychosocial services after learners have been at the level, at the school. You're supposed to have that before they come to school so that they are able to build resilience, so that parents are able to have confidence and be able to say we comply when we go to school. So these are some of the things that are supposed to be happening. But another solution is whenever there is a watch spot, the Minister must not hesitate. Such an area and such schools must be shut down immediately so that we can establish a formidable tracking and tracing record to assist the Department of Health so that we don't overwhelm the schools and overwhelm the health system. And the other solution, clearly, it is that we're approaching a peak. And during the peak, the Minister must not hesitate but use the regulation to shut down the schools. And therefore, we are able to readjust the curriculum because it is about lives first before academic year.
Absolutely. Mr. Thompson, I'm going to come to you on a continuation of that point. Obviously, it would be an ideal situation if we could afford to keep children home during the peak of this virus. Unfortunately, the economy has reopened. Many parents are back at work, and they find themselves in a position where they are unable to provide adequate home-based care for children who have not returned to school. What level of confidence do you have in the return of grades R6 and 11s to school from tomorrow?
Well, no, thank you very much, and thank you very much for having me on behalf of the National Teachers Union. I think it's very important to indicate that we are very disappointed that the Minister decided to go ahead with the phasing in of grade R and grade 11 and grade 6, because we thought perhaps we were going to have just a short break just to allow this kind of a peak to pass. Because you have seen that in the Republic, we are registering close to 10,000 people a day now who are getting infected. So, which means there's a need for us just to put some breaks and perhaps try to reorganize our system. Our worry as the National Teachers Union is not necessarily about learners going to school. It's about the schools that are not ready to receive the learners. I am talking about the schools that have already exhausted the floor space when they faced in grade 12, and phased in grade 7, which means the entire school has been utilized. There are no additional classes that are available for grade 11. For a primary school, no additional classes available for grade 6 and also for grade R. So that is the concern we are having. We raised the concern again about the sanitation. We have so many schools that are without decent toilets. Toilets are in a very devastating state. We have a serious problem of shortage of classes again. So the department promised that they were going to deliver the mobile classes in all the schools that are affected. They were going to deliver the mobile classes also in all the schools. And because some of the classes were overcrowded, such that there are schools that were having 80 learners in one class and 90 learners in another class, then we agreed that the maximum number of learners in the classroom must be at least 20 learners. But we are not seeing that thing happening on the ground, because we are supposed to have additional teachers, simply because some of the teachers who might not be teaching grade 12 are not fully qualified to come to the classroom and teach the grade 12 learners. So as a result, it means that we're expecting the Department of Education to employ additional teachers so as to accommodate the reduction of the class size.
Mr. Thompson, on that point, have you been in discussions with the Department of Basic Education? Have they indicated whether teachers who are qualified but currently unemployed will be employed at this stage to help capacitate schools?
Yes, of course. In fact, the main reason why we as all trade unions agreed for the reopening of schools for the accommodation of grade 12 and grade 7 was on the understanding that the department was going to get additional teachers in case there is a need for those teachers to be employed. And then secondly, remember, we have teachers who have comorbidities, and those teachers were supposed to be excused from attending school simply because they are likely to be infected. And those teachers who are 60 years and above, the agreement we had and the recommendation from the President of the Republic of South Africa was that all those people must remain at home as much as possible so that they are not infecting themselves or even spread the infection. We agreed with the department that we are going to get the replacement for those teachers who are having comorbidities. We are going to get additional teachers, but unfortunately, all those things are no longer discussed anywhere. We are seeing teachers who are being overstretched, teachers who are teaching from the morning to the afternoon, teachers who are teaching subjects that they've never taught previously, which is a serious concern to us, because it's not about just teaching. It's not about learners just attending school. It's about meaningful interaction between the teacher who's competent enough in a specific subject and the learner who is coming to school with an intention of mastering the concept. But we are seeing the education system being compromised simply because they do not want to substitute, they do not want to put additional teachers, they even do not want to put mobile classes so that we can have a reduced class size so that the distance between the desks will be 1.5 meters, which is a concern to us.
Mr. Thompson, so I'm going to come to you now in a second, Mr. Maluleke. I just want to find out, when you say that the department does not want to provide substitutes or hire additional teachers, has the department indicated that it will not be doing so, or are we merely waiting for that to still occur?
We are seeing provinces dragging their feet. We are seeing teachers who have applied for the leave, especially those with comorbidities. They are still at home and they've never had anything except that they are being told to do some work, of which they have no problem with that. But we are having a problem because we want to see a real contact time between a teacher and a learner. We do not want learners to rely on the information they are getting from somebody relaxed at home. So the department, all provinces are dragging their feet, and you could hear today, it's only the Gauteng province that reported that they were in the process of replacing. They've never used the past tense to say, out of maybe 10,000 positions that are vacant, or out of 5,000 people who are seated at home because of comorbidities, we have substituted them with 7,000.
I'm going to interrupt you there just to bring in SADTU again. Mr. Maluleke, on the point of the teachers with comorbidities, Minister Motshekga this afternoon indicated that roughly 10,000 teachers with comorbidities would be working from home. Has the department indicated how that process will work to make sure that those teachers will still be in a position to, A, be safe? We understand that their safety is of primary concern, and that they will still be in a position to make a living, which is also vital for them, but that more importantly, they will also be in a position to contribute effectively to the learning process.
Yeah, well, the department is engaging the union in another process that is called NCAT, as well as NIAC, where we have sent representatives to discuss the possibilities of how these particular teachers can be able to be utilized. There is a draft discussion document that is going on, and therefore, as an organization, we've also drafted our own draft agreement that we are putting to the Education Labor Relations Council, where we are dealing with the substitute of those who are on comorbidities, but also those who are 60 years and above. However, the draft that is there indicate very clear in terms of the proposals that are there, in terms of how you have to utilize those educators who are at home, because they are not sick. They're not unable to do their work. They are just being disposed by the virus, and therefore they cannot be on the ground in the school premise because they can be so vulnerable and it is risky for their lives. However, they are more than willing to do the work, and therefore some of the work that needs to be done are listed in those particular proposals that we are engaging and seeking mandate from our own structures in terms of how they can be assisting. And the only problem we have, it is the turnaround in terms of responding to the application by the department. Only a few departments like the Western Cape has indicated that they've been able to respond to the application that have been submitted to them by these teachers, because the more they delay the replies or the approval or disapproval and the second chance in terms of assessment, in terms of the risk of that particular teacher, the more they deny our children education, and therefore it defeats the same aim of really bringing our learners at school, because then they come there and there's no teacher in front of our learners to teach them. So we are working very hard around the clock to ensure that indeed those particular plans are there in the form of providing them with gadgets to be able to work at home, to be able to communicate with the principal, to be able to communicate with the learners and the parents whilst they're still at home, and therefore also calling for the assistant teachers who will stand in for those particular teachers. Whilst they are experienced teachers, we need their experience, and therefore they need to be able to contribute to that. And understanding the uncertainties that we are living in, it is important for us to have a sense of urgency, which is what I agree with Thompson, that we don't see the sense of urgency from the department. Like I have said, once the schools is reopened, that particular school is left to be on its own, because when you call, you are not getting to be answered. When you request a substitute, you are not being answered. However, we believe that the department can, before the end of this week, respond to the proposal we're putting on the table in terms of how we can now speed up the process of substituting even the teachers who find themselves in quarantine because they have tested positive, because you need to replace those teachers. Even if it's 14 days, even if it's 18 days, you cannot follow the normal process of substitute that we used to be following, because this is a different problem that you are dealing with, and therefore you are not able to plan 100% about it. What you need to do is to have a contingency of teachers that are there in the basket, and then you'll be able to exercise that particular responsibility as a district director or as the SG to ensure that the school does not have 2 days of no learning because the teacher is at home. For example, there are teachers that will be suspected because they've been in contact with a person who has tested positive. 4 or 5 teachers will be out of the school at the same time. How do you deal with that situation? Because it can be overwhelming the principal and the learners in terms of anxiety. You need that particular protocol, you need that particular agreement, and that agreement we have drafted it as an organization. We will be presenting it to the Education Labor Relations Council tomorrow to ensure that we can speed up the process of really alleviating this anxiety by the principal and give them the support they need. And because at the end of the day is that you can't have learners at school and there's no education. So it defeats the whole aim and objective and this noble aim that the minister is talking about, to have education and support the parents who have to go to work.
Right, thank you very much, gentlemen, both for your reaction there. That was Alan Thompson from the National Teachers Union and Mogoena Maluleke from the South African Democratic Teachers Union, giving us some reaction to the education briefing that took place earlier this afternoon.